Hello everyone, today I wanted to make a video about the similarities between the Transformers and Resident Evil sagas, because there's a lot in common between these two film franchises. But first, I'd like to mention that the idea was inspired by a video from the French YouTuber Magnus about the similarities between the Transformers movies and the Call of Duty video games. I wanted to make that clear, and now that that's done, we can get started. Indeed, while Resident Evil and Transformers aren't exactly Oscar contenders, they're more the kind of films you watch to switch off your brain and be entertained, the perfect dose of classic Hollywood action, summer blockbusters through and through. But while some action franchises have managed to transcend this function, Resident Evil and Transformers don't seem to benefit from any such elevation. In fact, each new episode seems to reinforce the negative perceptions and perceived flaws of both franchises. First of all, I want to reiterate that Michael Bay's Transformers films are among my favorites, and even though I acknowledge their enormous flaws, I still love them. They're epic, well-made, with epic music, intense moments, etc. My feelings for Resident Evil, however, are quite different. It's like Transformers, but without the cool robots and just with pretty, clean-cut humans during an invasion, or even an apocalypse. Not exactly thrilling. Not being a fan of the original video game, I'm not at all receptive to this universe. I did enjoy the more recent video games, but they came out long after the films and the series. In any case, I've noticed that the two franchises share some of the same criticisms, particularly the lack of character development, questionable adaptation choices for some, and numerous plot inconsistencies, inclusion of new characters that weren't in the games or previous materials, etc. It seems that Michael Bay and Paul W.S. Anderson franchises were overseen by similar creative teams. Indeed, it has become common in films like Resident Evil and Transformers to see characters disappear, subplots forgotten, over-the-top action scenes, and, more broadly, a shaky consistency in the overall universe. The criticism towards the two film series became increasingly harsh, even though the box office figures continue to rise, with the exception of The Last Night, which recorded lower figures than the previous films. Finally, both franchises received smaller-scale, more subdued, more blank and insipid and more fan-friendly reboots, with Bumblebee in 2018 for Transformers and Welcome to Raccoon City in 2021 for Resident Evil. But while Transformers is painfully trying to recover with this new continuity, which is already threatened with extinction after only 2 films by a potential complete reboot of the saga, seriously guys, you should finish your homework once in a while, that would be 3 cancelled continuities. And well, Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City was a total flop, just like the series. And both new continuities initiated by these projects have been cancelled. It has been announced that a film will be released at the end of summer 2026, directed by Zach Cregger, the director of the very recent Weapons. So, the fate of both franchises is uncertain. If we reboot everything every 2 or 3 years, I don't know what the whole thing will look like in a few years, maybe an abstract painting. I'm not really confident about the future of Transformers. I like the idea of Michael Bay returning, and I'd like it even more if he finished the story started by the Bayverse with the infamous Transformers 6, but I think it will be completely different. The latest statements seem to contradict each other, between those who say, reboot, and those who say, sequel to Rise of the Beasts, and the G.I. Joe crossover, which is stalled in the middle of all this, making it difficult to get a clear picture of the future. Instead of hitting the reboot button and completely messing things up, the rights holders of Resident Evil could have kept the cast of Welcome to Raccoon City and disguised the sequel as a soft reboot, or even made it a standalone film. A one-shot film with no connection to the 2021 movie except for the cast. For Transformers, a series about the Energon universe has apparently been announced, but I'm not following that closely. The Energon universe doesn't interest me at all. I prefer live-action adaptations, or maybe even a sequel to Transformers 1. I have a few ideas about how the story could continue, and maybe one day I'll make a video about it. It's definitely something I'm considering. I'm not particularly looking forward to Cregger's Resident Evil project, but a new personality joining the franchise is welcome. Okay, so that's it for this video, which was more experimental than the others. Once again, the concept was largely inspired by Magnus' video, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.